What's up everybody, heading into challenging group content like Mythic Plus and raiding, you really need to be on top of your game. Damage, interrupts, mechanics, routes, watching out for other players. There's a lot to do, so add-ons can really help improve your game and take off some of the pressure. So today I want to talk about the best WoW Dragonflight add-ons for Mythic Plus and raids. Dragonflight did change a few things with the UI, the talent trees, things like that, so this is the most up-to-date I can get it for Dragonflight before you head into your first Mythic Plus raids, or if you just want to improve. These are the ones that have really helped me and I want to share them with you. So let's get straight into it. Number 1, Plater. This is probably my personal favorite add-on in the game. Plater on the surface is a nameplate add-on that completely overhauls the enemy nameplates, and looking at it, it just looks like you're changing the color of the nameplates and making them bigger. But I personally just can't imagine not using this now because there's so much more to this than just a nameplate changer. Once you're fighting an enemy, you can quickly identify certain things about the enemy, the type of enemy, if its attacks are interruptible or not, if there's a little shield there, if it can be stunned or feared, and you can go into the settings and set up custom settings for everything you want to do. You can add your own bars, you can add buffs, debuffs to help with certain raid mechanics or affixes. You can also download presets where people will go through the entire dungeon and raid and set up Plater add-ons. So I don't go too deep into it, but you could literally go into a dungeon and have every mob color-coded, every mob showing the debuffs to be aware of. Or you could keep it super simple. Let's say the saboteurs on Nakut Offensive, you could highlight their names a different color so you know to pick them out when you see them. Say you see an enemy running around with a purple health bar, and he stands out for everyone else, you know to turn around, slow him down, or destroy him. So it really does help to highlight priority targets, things you want to interrupt, and I find it invaluable. So let's get into a more obvious add-on next, the damage meter. Lots of people here love details, and I also think details is fantastic as a damage meter. It's probably the most robust and detailed damage meter, but for me, I recently switched to Skada, and it is such a more lightweight and smoother damage meter. I have to recommend that one over details. But you know, this isn't a competition. Get whichever one you prefer. But for me, that's Skada. It's useful for everything really. Tracking your own damage, seeing where your big attacks are coming from, tracking your healing, seeing if you're lining up your cooldowns correctly, making sure you're pushing hard content that everyone in your group is performing. Obviously, with damage meters, people can get super toxic and pushy and call you out, but you know, it is what it is. It can be incredibly useful to improve your performance. If you're just going in casual content, if you're going up to like a normal raid, you might not even need one. But if you're pushing, say, Mythics or Mythic raids or high-end Mythic Plus, it's really important to squeeze out as much damage as possible, make sure everyone is interrupting all of the bad stuff. So a damage meter really does help just track everything well. I will say with the new talent changes, the new talent, the revamp of the talent trees, I've tried a few things on there. I've tried a few talent trees off of, say, Icy Veins or Wowhead, and I've got them and been underperforming in dungeons and thought, oh, this doesn't feel right. So then it made me realize that maybe I'm doing it wrong. You go back and you read up how it's supposed to work, and then you implement that and you see your damage wildly increase. So it's really good just for monitoring your own performance. And without a damage meter, you could be going into a dungeon and just, you know, doing your rotation, thinking everything's great, but performing really badly. So it's there if you need it, and I highly recommend it. Next up, BigWigs, Little Wigs. I adore this add-on. It's phenomenal. BigWigs for raids, Little Wigs for 5-man content. I'll also say here, an amazing alternative that most people have probably heard of is Deadly Boss mods. So consider either one or the other, same as the damage meters really. You should definitely get one in my opinion. I love BigWigs. It will alert you when spells, damage, and phases are changing. It will show rangefinders, so you're not too close to other players. If there's an AoE going off, it will show you who is nearby, so you know to move. It just makes a confusing fight more clear. If you're going into something for the first time, it can help you learn things. If a spell gets cast and you've never seen it before, it'll kind of tell you roughly what to do. And then again, if things are just going wrong and just bad, let's say you're a healer and everyone's low on health, and you're constantly looking at the health bars, and the boss is doing something and you don't realize, you might hear a beep, and then a big warning pop up, and you know, oh crap, I've got to move for this one. And it just helps you motivate you and get you in the right place, and just I can't imagine not raiding without it anymore, but it's super useful. If all this is too much, you can go into the settings and change whatever you want. Maybe you just want to have warnings on the final boss that you're struggling with and then turn off the others. Maybe you only want to track AoEs or targeting, or you want to add or remove the sound effects or on-screen effects, move them to the side. You can make it as lightweight as you want. You could literally just use a rangefinder from this. You could literally just use cooldown counters so you can see when the attacks are coming in or the phase changes. It's great. I have to recommend it. People may argue that add-ons like this make the game too easy or take the fun out of the game, but the late game of WoW as we know it and going into Dragonflight assumes you're using add-ons to make it, they make the content more challenging, assuming we're all using add-ons. So I highly recommend a mechanic add-on like this one or Deadly Boss mods. Next up, and they are WeakAuras. Wow, WeakAuras. I avoided these for years because they overwhelm the hell out of me, but give them a chance. WeakAuras are basically a framework for completely overhauling the UI. Some people use these to completely change their game. You can micromanage and track literally everything with WeakAuras, and they have so much use in difficult content. I personally use them when I heal. You can set up like every single spell and effect in the game individually in WeakAuras, or you can import a preset, which is what I do, and then adjust it down to how you want it. I have this one on my Resto Druid to help track when defensives and big panic heals are off cooldown. I think it's a total game changer. Your mana's right there in the middle of the screen and all your defensives are there. Things like putting a shield on every 30 seconds. You see it come off, you put it straight back on, you know where to put it. Certain things that are on cooldown, I get into a habit of never using them. I'll go through a whole dungeon and not use a big cooldown, but having it right there on screen reminds me to start using stuff like that, and it's super, super helpful. So useful, has to be on this list. Phenomenal add-on, so much utility, give it a try. Next, this is more niche one, but I'm going to chuck it in here, slide it in the middle of some add-ons because this is so good if you're healing. A lot of us out here are healers. I don't know why we heal in games, but we do, and I love healing. And I couldn't heal without this add-on. I could, but this makes me so much more better, so much better as a healer. I don't think I could heal high-end Mythic Plus without it. Healbot basically lets you set all your healing spells to buttons and then click the player's names to heal them. So before, you go over, you click a player's name, you press 3. And then the next guy's dying, you go click his name, you press 2. And that's how you would heal. With Healbot, you just set presets to certain buttons and then click the names as you want to do it. So for example, left click I always have to do a heal. So left click would be a fast heal, and then shift left click would be the big heal. Right click would be a group heal, and then middle mouse for a heal over time. It's so huge for healing, as you could just sit there, doing your rotation, doing your damage, you see someone drop to half health, chuck a couple of heals on, and back you go. Or you can, when things are going wrong, you can just sit there, clicking over different names to throw out your different spells, and it's just so useful. It tracks colours for the percent of the health, it dims out if they're out of range, it shows that there's a little icon for if they've got what buffs they've got and what debuffs they've got, so you know when to cleanse them. It's absolute game changer, and if you're healing without this, I honestly think this will take your healing to the next level. You can also set macros and change the buttons around as you need it. It's just good. It's just good. It's just good. It's just good. If you're healing, try it, please. Okay, finally, Mythic one. This is all about Mythic Dungeons. If you're either a tank, a leader, or you just want to optimize and learn the Mythic Dungeons, then Mythic Dungeon Tools is great. You may have heard this once be called Method Dungeon Tools, I think, but it's Mythic Dungeon Tools now. You can use this to learn enemy positions, routes, research enemies and their spells, plan your affixes, and prepare before heading into a dungeon. If you are wiping on a certain pack constantly, you go into the adventure guide and it just shows you the bosses. But you can use this to look at the packs and see, why am I wiping on the bosses? What spell am I why am I wiping on the trash? What spell am I wiping on? And why am I wiping on it? And you can do your research and get better at the dungeon. If you look at the newer dungeons, like say Ruby Life Pools, you can click an enemy and see exactly what they can be influenced by, stuns, fears, CCs, what percent of the dungeon, of the trash they make up when defeated, and you can learn more about their abilities. You can design your own route by literally drawing on the map and pathing out where you want to go. Sites such as Keystone Guru, I'll link that down below, let people share their routes, and you can just import them, and you can see fully optimized routes that you can then try yourself. Just simply drawing out here, we can see we've cleared 35% of the room before the first boss, and maybe you see that one of these bosses, one of these trash packs that we've identified can't be interrupted, or it's really tight, or every time you go in there, it's giving you a hard time on quaking weeks. You could go around it, go left and work your way around it, and see if you can still hit your mob percentage on the way. And by doing this and tracking this, maybe you're doing some dungeons at 120% mob, or maybe some dungeons you're not hitting the 100%, or maybe you're picking up all the hard trash packs when there's a much simpler route to do. This is super useful for timing keys, and I always find myself opening this for advice. But like I say, there's tons of add-ons out there, but these are my personal favorites that always seem to improve my gameplay, and I'm going to be using for all of Dragonflight Dungeons and Mythic Plus. But that's it from me. Let me know in the comments if there's any that you would rather use, or that you literally can't play without, or that you think is an absolute game changer, because there's tons out there, and I've tried loads on and off, so I'm always looking for more. So yeah, let me know. That's it from me. Take care. Enjoy Mythic Plus. Enjoy Vault of the Incarnate and whatever comes next. And I'll catch you in the next one.